Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome to Small World and thank you for joining me with today's video. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to make realistic stone walls using a real rock texture. In the past, I've used foam exclusively to make entire stone walls. In fact, one of my first videos was dedicated to this method over 3 years ago, and I implemented that technique across a lot of projects. And it's a totally viable method. It's cheap, the materials are easy to find, and you have a lot of control throughout the entire process. But I find that the texture always fell a little bit flat for me in foam. Even after texturing with aluminum foil or pressing a rock into the surface, the foam just never held the sharpness of detail that I wanted. I felt like the surface texture was pretty visible in bare foam, but it kind of gets lost after a few paint layers because the detail's really shallow. So today, I want to try and use real rock texture to make a stone wall. Model railroaders have been using rock molds for decades to model outcrops and cliff faces, but it wasn't until after watching Jeff Reiten's video that you can actually make stone walls with this method too. It just takes a few more steps. You can totally do this entire process using Woodland Scenics rock molds, but I wanted a lot of variety to the texture of my stones, so I'm going to be making my own rock molds as well. So this means we got to get rocks to use. Alrighty y'all, we're outside hunting for rocks to use for our miniatures. Thankfully I don't have to go far, because I got gravel in my backyard. One thing to keep in mind when looking for stones to use, at least that I keep in mind, is like I want ones that have really sharp detail. Like this texture would be pretty difficult to replicate with foam. You want to make sure the texture will scale well. Like this one looks pretty good. But yeah, it's as easy as just like picking up some rocks and looking at the texture and seeing if it's gonna work or not. What's up, dude? Look at this guy going. Once you have all of your rocks, it's a good idea to rinse them off. Any dirt stuck on them will be a part of the mold if you don't. And once they're all dry, I embed them into a piece of foam board with the side that I want to mold facing up. I also want to try and make them relatively the same thickness, about 3/16 of an inch. Some variation is okay though, so don't worry about them being perfectly the same height. Sulfur-free clay is used to seal any gaps between the rocks and the board. Once all the rocks are embedded in the foam, more foam board is glued around the edges for preparing the mold. To make the mold, I use Moldstar 30 silicone, which is a platinum silicone, and it's pretty durable, which is perfect for making these rock molds. You just gotta mix equal parts of A and B by volume and pour it all over the rocks. After letting the silicone cure overnight, I rip off the foam board walls and peel off the silicone from the rocks. I didn't use any mold release before pouring the silicone and it worked out fine. You can see that the silicone captured all the rock texture perfectly. Now we can finally start casting some plaster rocks, and again, you can totally just use the prefabricated Woodland Scenics rock molds if you don't want to make your own rock molds. I mix some plaster of Paris with water and a good amount of matte Mod Podge to cast everything. In the past I've used other types of plaster, but this seems to work really well for me. Once the plaster is mixed, I start brushing it into the molds, but Don't do this. It's purely a waste of time, and later on I found a much easier and more effective method for removing air bubbles on the surface, which is you just spritz the mold with some isopropyl alcohol and mix a thinner, like more runny batch of plaster, and you just pour it into the mold. Yeah, it's a lot more simpler than trying to brush plaster into every little rock cavity. So don't do that. Save your time. So removing the plaster casts is pretty satisfying, and it's great to see all the surface detail from the gravel replicated in these plaster casts. Now I'm sure some of you are wondering like what the whole point of this process was. Like, why didn't I just use the gravel that I picked to begin with? The issue is the real stuff is definitely too large and the thickness is too much for the scale that I'm working in. And the gravel isn't necessarily the right shape either. Casting these in plaster has allowed me to get these stones to the right thickness, and I can use a razor saw to cut these plaster casts, which I wouldn't have been able to do with gravel. Then I can cut them to the right size, and the process does take a painfully long time. I just kept telling myself that the end results are going to be worth it, and I think they are. I think it looks pretty good. At this point, after a long time of cutting, you can see that I cut the stones into a variety of sizes, which will give me a lot of versatility when placing my stones. If you only plan on doing this for one project, you could probably just get away with using the stones that we just cut down from the larger plaster casts. But if you're going to be using stones for a lot of projects like I plan to do, it's a good idea to mold these smaller stones. It'll take more time now to make the mold, but in the future it'll save you a lot of time just because then you won't have to cut small stones to scale every project that you do. So yeah, I'm going to make another mold of these smaller pieces just so I can make a whole bunch for future projects that are already the right size, and it's going to save me a lot of time in the long run. But the only difference is, since these small stones are made of plaster, unlike the gravel that we originally casted, plaster has like a really porous surface, and when we pour liquid silicone over it, there's a chance that the silicone will actually absorb into the plaster's surface. And just as a precaution, I just seal the plaster with Tamiya surface primer. But after that, the process is pretty much exactly the same as making the first mold. I glue down all the little stones with some super glue to the foam board, and any gaps again are filled with clay. Then the mold walls are glued in place, the silicone is mixed, and then poured over all of the stones. I made 2 molds just due to the amount of stones that I'm molding. After demolding the new molds, more plaster stones are cast just like before using the same method. Again, I don't really show it here, but don't do what I'm doing when I'm brushing the plaster into the mold. It's much easier to just spritz the mold with some isopropyl alcohol and then pour in a thin mix of plaster to prevent air bubbles from forming on the surface. When removing the stones from the molds, I don't really care if some of the stones break, because that'll just give me more shapes and variation in the final stone walls that I make. Now that I have more stones than I need, I'm going to start by making my wall using a piece of foam board. Each stone is individually glued in place with super glue. And while it takes a long time, it's pretty easy. Doing a small wall like this is pretty manageable, but it does get pretty painful after doing a large wall. The only thing to keep in mind is to try and find rocks that look like they fit together. Like, you're essentially making a rock jigsaw puzzle when you're doing these walls. And it's a good idea. You can also look at reference images of other stone walls, maybe ones that you want to replicate, and that might give you an idea of how to fit the stones together. The nice thing too is you can always cut these stones to fit exactly the way you want them to if needed. I'm leaving some relatively large gaps between these stones because I plan on adding mortar into the joints later on. But if I were making a dry fit wall, then I might make the tolerances a little bit tighter between each stone. And here's how the stone wall looks with all the stones glued in place. And I already think that the texture itself undeniably just looks more rocky than foam. Because I mean, it's real rock, basically. I prime the entire surface using surface primer, and then the surface gets base coated with a mix of burnt umber and black paint. You could totally skip this base coating and primer step and go with a more traditional plaster wash technique that people use on plaster rock castings, but I feel like some of the surface texture kind of gets a little lost in that method. Priming and base coating makes the plaster feel more rigid, almost like you're painting a plastic model rather than a plastic cast, and so there's benefits and there's drawbacks to both. I feel like you have more control when you're painting a sealed surface, because when you're painting bare plaster, it's kind of just like you put the color on, it's absorbed into the plaster, and it's kind of permanent. But you can get really convincing plaster rock surfaces. I mean, I've done it on the channel before on my World War II bunker diorama. So painting is kind of up to you. I'll just show you how I do it. I'm actually using a technique that I haven't really used that much before, and I learned it from Night Shift's channel on his watermill video, where he's painting real stones using the wet blending method. And he kind of talked about how when you have something with really good texture, wet blending is really good because the rocks just paint themselves. And he's right. Like, I was kind of shocked about how I'm literally just like brushing these colors on and they're just capturing all the detail because the detail is really good. So to start, I mixed up a darker gray and a lighter gray wash, and I brushed it over individual stones, making some lighter and some darker. As you can see, the wash just flows over the surface and accentuates all the details rather than being absorbed into the surface. Once the gray was dry, I add lots of different brown and tan washes in the same way, just to add some more variation based off of some reference images that I found. I mix and match colors right on the rock, and they end up blending together for a really convincing result. The texture of the rocks are really doing all of the heavy lifting for the paintwork, and it's really as easy as it looks. Here's how the rocks look after they dry, and I'm super pleased with how real they look. All the surface highlighting is done with no dry brushing, and it's pretty impressive in my opinion. If you were doing a dry fit stone wall, you could probably just stop here, but I plan on adding mortar to all the joints. And I use Spackle, which is what I've always used for mortar joints, and I apply it basically in the same way. I just smear it into the cracks and wipe away the excess. One thing to watch out for is making sure that the spackle isn't filling the surface details of the stones. And unfortunately, I wasn't really careful enough during this step. Spackle on the surface of the stones, or I guess mortar on the surface of the stones, isn't necessarily unrealistic. It can actually be very common depending on what kind of stones that you're modeling. But I personally didn't want much mortar effect on the surface of my stones, so that was a little bit of a bummer. But I've already experimented with another method for applying the spackle into the joints using a syringe. You have to water it down a bit more, and it takes multiple applications because the spackle shrinks. But that way you won't get the kind of dusty, lighter look over the surface of your stones if that's not what you're looking for. Once dry, I give the mortar joints a beige wash based on my reference photos. But I also saw other walls using white or gray mortar, so the color is really kind of up to you. And with that, this little stone wall is finished. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with the way that it turned out. I wish I didn't get as much spackle on the surface like I mentioned earlier, but the texture is still more pronounced than I would have gotten with bare foam. So yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. Take a look at this comparison between my current stone wall and one that I made from foam back in 2023. Hopefully the improvement is noticeable. One thing that I always strive for when I'm making these videos is I'm always trying to improve my model making techniques because I just love learning new skills, and I always want to make something better than I've made it before. It's been a long time since I've done one of these kind of shorter videos about one specific texture or technique. Like now I usually just post completed diorama videos. But what do you think about me revisiting some of these older videos? Like making stones like this video, or bricks or sidewalks, etc. Would that interest you for me to fill the void with these videos between some of my longer projects? I'd love to know, so just let me know in the comments below. Also, I know it's been a while since I've just posted a diorama video in general, and no, this little tiny stone wall isn't the only thing I've been working on since then. I actually have a full build in the works, and here's a sneak peek of part of the diorama where I use the stone wall method to make all the walls for this diorama. Feel free to guess what the project is in the comments below, and if you don't want to guess and you just kind of want to see the progress right now, feel free to join my Patreon. And speaking of which, I want to give a big thank you to all of my Patreon members for helping and supporting me, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to make these project videos. Your contributions directly help fund these videos, and I can't thank you enough for your support. I've been documenting every part of this new build on Patreon, including how I made the stone wall texture that I showed in this video, along with a bunch of other detailed parts of the build. Depending on what tier you select, you'll get access to behind the scenes videos, which are basically like no commentary, almost like model making ASMR style videos, since you get to hear all of the natural sounds, along with Q&A videos, photo updates. You get access to my 3D print files from every project that I've worked on, and much more. So feel free to join if you can, because it really helps me out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.